everyone. Give yourselves a hand for being here. Thank you so much. Very glad that you all have joined us for this extraordinary topic that we're going to be discussing today. My name is Christina Taylor. I am a senior career coach with the Elder Financial Safety Center of the Senior Source. And I am here and joined today with my lovely co-host, Ms. Sally Sharp, also along with our career coach, Mr. John Murphy. And I will allow them each to introduce themselves if they would.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sally Sharp, and I'm with Dallas HR, the Community Relations Committee, and I'm a human resource manager with Old American Services. I've been in human resources for about 30 years in about 7 different industries. Glad to be joining you all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sally. John, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is John Murphy. I'm one of the career coaches here at the Senior Source. It's so great to see you all. We have a really good program scheduled for you, so I'm super excited. I can barely contain, my smile. So Christina and Sally have both put in a lot of hard work, so I'm just happy to see this event happen, for sure.
Wonderful. We are also pleased to be joined with our program director, Julie Crossic. Julie, would you like to say hello really quickly to our panelists and our guests today?
Good morning. Thank you all for being here and for being a part of this really important topic. And so I really look forward to hearing from all the experts. And thank you, John and Christina and Sally, for putting on an awesome program. See, I've already determined it's awesome and we just got started.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Julie. So for those of you who are joining us today, thank you again for here. Today's topic is overcoming ageism in your work search. So we have been honored and blessed to have with us a panelist of experts in a variety of fields that range from human resources to entrepreneurship. And I would like to go ahead and get those panelists to introduce themselves today. And we'll go ahead and give you each an opportunity to tell us who you are, what exactly it is that you do, and any little tidbit about us that you'd like for us to know. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my screen. I have Ms. Jojo Harris with the Jacobson group. Jojo, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Jojo Harris. I'm the Senior Vice President of Human Resources at the Jacobson Group, and we are a Chicago-based executive search and staffing firm that provides talent to the insurance industry. And so if anyone is in insurance, they probably have heard of us. If you're not in insurance, you may not hear about us. We kind of are the I call it manpower of the insurance industry. I've been with the Jacobson Group for 7 years now, and I love it. Prior to the Jacobson Group, I worked for Morton Salt. I did human resources, both domestically and internationally for 10 years. Prior to that, I worked at the Chicago Tribune. I was the head of human resources for the operations. That's where they print the paper and all the resources that go into that. And prior to that, I did human resources and accounting at Armstrong World Industries, where we made ceilings and floors. I have an undergraduate degree in accounting, and I have a master's in human resources. And I've quite a few years, I think about 25 to 27 years in the industry. So a little bit about me.
Thank you so very, very much. Thank you so much, Jojo. And I'll go ahead and move here to Mr. Trevor Houston. Trevor, please introduce yourself.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Trevor Houston. I'm the CEO of ClearPath Wealth Strategies and the host of the Who You Know Job Networking Show. I've been serving job seekers for, 5-6 years now. And I get to work hands-on. We do a lot of training. So this topic is a sensitive one, ageism. And it's one that I've been battling, with the job seekers in the trenches, helping them overcome for a long time. So I'm excited to get to share with you guys some strategies and tips that I've learned along the way to help them to get out of the black hole, get noticed by the employers that they're looking to go work for, get them back to their cash flow. So I'm excited to be here with you today. And thanks for letting me share.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Trevor. We're very happy to have you here. We also have joining us today Ms. Natalie Trimble. Originally, Denise Dinkens was going to help us. She is a panelist for Equus Works, and she has so graciously allowed us to put in her place a Natalie Trimble. Natalie, thank you so much for joining us. Would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Again, my name is Natalie Trimble. I am the Senior Talent Development Facilitator for Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas. I've been working with the workforce for over 15 years in the areas of facilitation, and HR, I would say prior to that in the financial business. So I am familiar with helping people get back to work and living their best lives. That's our overall goal. And right now we currently are facilitating workshops for job readiness. And what I'm currently beginning to notice is that we are having most of our potential attendees are mature age. So they are the 50 plus. So this is just a perfect platform that we can be able to reach out and give information based on what I've experienced just in fact today, along with speaking with mature job seekers to help them live their best life. So thank you, and it's wonderful being here.
Thank you very much, Natalie. And then last but not least, Ms. Lee Coleman. Thank you for joining us, Lee. Would you please mind introducing yourself to our guests?
Much for having me. Again, I am Lee Coleman. I am the Director of Human Resources for CK Family Services. We are a foster care and adoption agency, the premier agency in Texas. And so we employ about 250 employees. And it's certainly my objective to make sure that every qualified individual, regardless of any of the protected classes, and age certainly falls within that, have a fair opportunity to come to work for us as a mission-minded organization that really has the intent to serve children and families throughout Texas. I have been in human resources for about 15 years. And so over half of that has been in nonprofit, but I have also worked in the mortgage industry on the human resources side, and as well as personal protection, corporately speaking, kind of like the life alert for the business sector. So this is a topic I'm really excited about. I guess when 40 became the new 20, then the age of ageism moved to 50. Because as I was, becoming a more seasoned citizen in the world, 40 was also the age that we started to look at ageism. So I'm happy to know that it has increased, but still, passionate about doing anything that I can to serve those who need information and resources to get back to work, because we have a very valuable commodity in human capital with citizens who have great experiences to bring. So I'm just excited to be here and to share with each of the panelists and participants today.
Wonderful. Lee, thank you so much for joining us. This is our panel. These are the experts. They're going to answer all of the questions that you all have. I'm now going to turn it over to Sally Sharp, who's going to talk to us very briefly about the objective of today's event.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, we're talking about, what is ageism and some ways to overcome it in your job search. We're going to be showing a short video here quickly, and then we'll ask questions from our panelists, talking about, what are those signs of ageism in the job search, and what are some ways to overcome age bias through your resume. And how do you respond or avoid age bias in your interview when you perhaps, I know it's happened to me, you get asked an illegal question on the spot and you're kind of in, oh my, how am I supposed to respond to that? So hopefully we'll give you some of those nuggets to assist you in your job search. So now we're going to see a video talking about ageism. It's just short, 2 or 3 minutes.
So what is up with old people? You know, they're just hanging around our society, stealing all our Social Security money we have left, right? We laugh, but there's a serious stigma in our society around aging and therefore around retirement, and it's causing us some major problems. So in 2015, there was a study that was released by the Center for Creativity and Wellbeing, and they were looking at the stereotypes associated with people who were aging and their different characteristics. And one of the things that they noticed, in their words, not mine, is that people who are aging are needy, insecure, that they are less useful than their younger counterparts, and they can't learn new things. So, you know, we got over respecting our elders a long time ago, apparently, right? The challenge in our society is that most folks here in the US retire at about age 62, yet the average life expectancy extends to almost 80. So this means that we're applying this whole host of horrible stereotypes to people for nearly a quarter of their lives. Now, the challenge here is, where did this all start? We have to go back to the Industrial Revolution to learn more about where all this started. In the Industrial Revolution, for the first time, an aging workforce became a problem as we had more machines that were in our workplaces. So older folks who were a little bit slower and made a couple more mistakes than their younger counterparts were seriously in trouble. And the prevailing attitude at the time was that, oh, they deserve to be pushed to the side and have younger folks come up because they have families and they have mouths to feed, and that's important. So the challenge became in the Great Depression, when that hit, that we continued to marginalize our older workers in favor of younger upcoming workers. The good news is that we're now out of the Industrial Revolution. We're in the knowledge era, the era of the knowledge worker, which is great. The bad news is that we carried all of those stereotypes and assumptions about older workers with us into the 21st century, and we haven't paused to think if they still accurately reflect our society or if they serve us anymore. And clearly, if you ask any older adult, they don't. So what can we do about this? First, we need to start with ourselves. We need to check our own attitudes and assumptions and acknowledge that ageism does exist in our society and acknowledge the role that we play in it. And we also need to come up with some more active, positive views of what it means to age in our society. Now, the 2015 study is already in the books, but as we look forward to 2025, 10 years from now, when we're all 10 years closer to retirement, what do we want the headline of that study to read? Is it going to be the same old stereotypes from the industrial era? Or is it going to be a new set of attitudes that drive us in the knowledge era to where we can fully realize our full potential? And it's up to us to decide. Thank you.
All right, thank you for watching that very quick video there about ageism and kind of what our thoughts have been around that. Hopefully that was helpful to you. That again was a TED Talk, and I'm sure that you can locate that at any TED Talk online. So now we're gonna kind of move into really what is the meat of today's topic, ageism, how to overcome it in your work search. Our panelists are going to answer questions that have come to us from a few of our clients and just people who've had specific questions about this topic. Please be sure, if you have specific questions or thoughts, you are welcome to place those in the chat. John will be monitoring the chat and we will answer those questions appropriately. So we're going to start with the first question, and we're going to pose this to our panelists. What are potential signs of ageism that exist in the hiring process? And that may be some that you are aware of or some that you may not know, but what are potential signs of ageism in a hiring process or even an interviewing process? And we can open the floor. Whichever panelist would like to take that first.
I'll open the floor and just add one to get the party started here. So one of the signs of ageism in the hiring process, I would say, is that the employer makes assumptions about the candidates, right? And those could be assumptions in terms of what the candidate is willing to do or not do, how flexible the candidate is or isn't. There's salary assumptions. There's assumptions regarding the amount of energy somebody can bring to the job, how open or flexible they are, and how long they want to work, whether that's in a day or their longer term career goals. And so I would say one of the signs is individuals start to assume, or whoever's interviewing, let's say a seasoned worker, is they start to assume all of those things, that they're not asking these questions during that time together.
Awesome, thank you, JoJo. Anyone else? Natalie Trimble, any potential signs of ageism that exist in a hiring process or even in an interviewing process that we need to be aware of?
Yes, well, one of the things that you can pay attention to is either if the employer recruits only through specific social media platforms geared to younger, like Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, and they don't use the ones that more mature age use, like Facebook or LinkedIn, to post job postings. So they will use the ones to attract the younger generation by using the more popular social media drives to attract younger. So those are some of the potential signs that you can pay attention to. Some other things is like code words, like fresh, tech savvy, digital, flexible, energetic, certain words they may use in the age, the hiring process. There may be potential codes as well.
Interesting. I like that fresh, new, innovative. Those are kind of piggyback words. Trevor, what are your thoughts on that? Any signs or things that our audience or our clients need to be aware of to be signs of ageism?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the words, those trigger words, overqualified, right? There's that word, and overqualified is just, I look at it as payism, right? It's not necessarily like you have too many skills. That's not a bad thing, right? Too many skills isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. It means you have the skills, but it means you don't want to pay for the skills. You're overqualified, right? Like they don't want to pay for your experience. You have too much experience. You're too old. like it's a trigger word. So overqualified, I think, is one. And also just the time it takes for people to get back to work. Like we're seeing, some of the, some people that are taking like a year and a half, 2 years, like it's ridiculous. It takes them so long to get back to work. So that's another thing to look out for, is just how long it takes.
Right. Trevor, follow-up question. So how should someone respond if they get that question in an interview saying, well, your resume, you look overqualified for this position?
Yeah, I would always just address the elephant in the room, right? You have to understand that this is an objection, okay? And that when it comes to ageism, there's a few triggers that the employer is usually thinking about. Number one is it's the money, right? It's the pay, it's the money, right? It's payism. Number two, it's flight risk, right? Like you potentially, if you will accept what we'll offer you, the next guy that gives you more money, you're going to leave, right? So you're a flight risk. So you have to be able to overcome that objection. Technology, right? They're afraid that you're going to be slow to adapt to technology. So you just kind of got to like think about what are the true objections. It's not really your age, it's money, it's, you know, you're going to leave at the next sign of more money, it's technology, it's all these other underlying things. And if you can start to overcome those early and address the elephant in the room, it's also like, what would that picture look like working for someone, your manager being someone younger than you? Are you going to be able to take, you know, direction from a millennial who's going to be your boss, right? Those kinds of things, like the dynamic of fitting into the culture. So there's all these different dynamics to it that are their real objections. It's not your age. It's all those other things.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's great. Lee, Sally.
Go ahead.
No, if Lee wanted to answer the first question before you move to the second.
Oh, good.
Have anything to add to potential signs of ageism or things that you have seen people experience personally?
I would say that in terms of the environment, once you actually start, you know, the Zoom interviews or if you do a face-to-face interview and, you know, you're the grandmother or the grandfather in the room, that's not necessarily something that may jump out on a resume, because there are ways you can, you know, kind of update your resume to make sure that doesn't happen. But if you're there and there isn't, you know, there's no one there that represents diversity in terms of age and experience, to me, that's a huge, you know, sign that there may be that potential to experience some of the things that Trevor mentioned in terms of your pay and not wanting to really pay you what you're truly worth. So I think that's kind of huge, and being able to recognize that this may be the case, and knowing that you're not going to be able to overcome that in every environment, because some people do not want to have a seasoned person there because they don't always believe that they're flexible in terms of their thought processes and their ability to be able to work with, you know, a younger group, or whether it's their manager or just their team. And so I think those are a couple of the things that kind of jump out in terms of ageism.
And this is JoJo. Can I also add to what Trevor was saying about, hey, how do you combat the, oh, hey, you might be overqualified during your conversation? Can I just add to that too?
Yes.
So one of the methods that I like to see folks do is, if someone says, hey, you're overqualified, and someone may respond by, well, given my experience, I think I'm perfectly qualified. Let me tell you why. You're looking for X, I've done X. I've done it here or there. Your job description, as we talked, you said you are looking for Y. I've done Y as well. You know, so I would say I'm perfectly qualified, and then I'd start to match. This is what you want. This is what I got.
Oh, sorry, I was having mouse issues. That's excellent, JoJo. That is exactly what I was hoping. Some exact phrasing that some of our job seekers can use when they're faced with that. How about the resume? What are some tactical things people should be considering when they're putting their resume together? I know, Lee, you and I talked about that when I first contacted you. I was wondering if you would share your own personal experience.
Yeah, I mean, what I found when I was interviewing, I had been laid off, and then I had an injury, and then, you know, I accepted a position that didn't actually come through. It was a startup organization, and then there was COVID. So by the end of all this, I've now been out of work for like 2 years almost. And, you know, and so just being sure that you know, you update your resume in terms of the format that is now popular for 2021, that you're using the keywords that speak to the positions that you're applying for, that you remove the dates. I mean, if you were at Xerox for 45 years, you probably want to just highlight about the last 15 to 20 years of that experience. You don't want to cover your full on, resume, because no one's going to believe that you went from the pediatric ward into your first job. So it's going to be very clear if you have 40 years of experience, you're getting close to 60. And so we can sometimes date ourselves by what we share on our resume. Removing dates. I mean, fortunately for me, I went back as a senior student or as an older, mature student. I forgot the buzzword that they use for that now, but I returned just to college at a later stage to finish my education. So I could put 2007 because that's on less than 15 years ago right now, but I just removed all the dates. And right now I'm certified in both with SHRM and the Human Resource Institute for my human resource certifications. So those are the only dates I have on there that I'm in good standing, and the expiration date. Other than that, I have no dates about my college graduation or any of those things that could potentially date me. And your resume really should not cover more than 15 to 20 years of it, of your work history, so that no one, has that opportunity to to kind of typecast you in a certain role or gender or age or stage in your career.
Great. Thanks, Lee. Natalie, do you have anything to add? I'm sure you have a lot of experience in this area in coaching job seekers.
Yes, what I've experienced that they should just limit their resume to one page, one pages only, and remove jobs they had more than 15 years ago that may not be relevant to what they're looking for, but they feel they need to show that they have experience. Describe impact more than responsibilities. Use other action verbs to describe the things that they've used. Remove, because some of us been working for so long, we tend to not update our resume till it's time to look for a job. And things may have changed. So
Very true.
Remove references upon request, because that still was on it over 10 years ago, but now people still have it on their, more mature age, think it's still necessary, instead of creating just a reference list separately that they already have prepared. They include a skills section that's relevant to what they're looking for. Definitely. Their header should be in bold, and remove their full address. They shouldn't have a full address on the header of their resume anymore. So, and I usually, because of education is such a big thing, but they can put it to the bottom of their resume. So it won't be such a big focus where maybe the employer may ask what year, since the years are no longer on there anymore. So those are just some of the things that I have explained. In the font, that's another thing. It should be a font of 10 to 12, because some people go lower than that. So just those little bitty things make a big impact when the employer reads our resume, that initial 8 to 10 seconds.
Great. Thanks so much, Natalie. And I know there's a lot of sources out there where our job seekers can go and get a refresher on resume writing. I know your organization offers, I know Senior Source, there's videos online, et cetera, SHRM. But any of the other panelists, anything to add specifically in regards to formatting that resume? Trevor, I see you.
Well, actually, not exactly to formatting. I'm glad we have some experts for that. I am not the resume expert, but I will tell you that a resume is a place where people can drive themselves crazy. Okay, redoing their resume over and over and over and over and thinking that's the problem. I don't care what you do to your resume. The resume is going in the black hole. Just like understand it's going in the black hole. That's the first stage of the process. You've got to get people involved. You have to get people involved.
Yeah.
Like, please, please, please hear me on this. You've got to get people involved. Network. Like, it doesn't matter what you do to your resume, because if that's what you're relying on, just applying online with that resume, it's gonna take you a long time if that's your approach. If you don't get people involved early in the process, someone who can actually pull that piece of paper out of the trash where it is, out of the black hole, and look at it, okay? Because the keywords and trying to figure out what ATS system they're using and trying to figure it and coding and all, like, that's not going to work. You're going to drive yourself crazy if that's your approach. Get people involved who can pull that resume out of the black hole quickly and get some eyes on it. That would be my 2 cents. But again, I'm glad we do have resume experts in the room, because that's not me.
Okay, great. Thanks, Trevor. Anyone else?
I'd like to add to that as well. And my firm, historically, we do rely on resumes, but not only resumes, because I completely agree with Trevor, and that if that's your single source strategy is get a great resume together, then you are missing 50% of the equation. It's actually 33%, because the other 50 is, as he said, you got to network, you got to get out there, right? And so, since I think we're going to probably talk about that in a little bit, but for the resume, how some of the systems work now, and they've worked like this before, but it's even more prominent now, is that you want to make sure in your resume there are words that match up with what they're looking for, because people, we don't put our eyes on it. You enter it into a system, and algorithms start to look at that and read the words. So it's not even a human that's looking at what you've put down. These are data systems that do it. And what they start to do is, if you say, hey, I need experience with SAP, they look to see the words SAP, and they say, hey, here are the keywords to find in a resume. And it gives us, hey, there's 100% match on Sally's resume, or 20% match on Rose's resume. And all that is driven by the skills of the words that you put down matching up with what we put in what we're looking for. So the resume, so I would say there is some importance on the resume, but it can't just be a resume as well. But when you do have a resume, make sure it has what you need. You want to really look at each role and make sure that paper has what best reflects what they're looking for. And so I think a lot of just a general resume, and they put it out to 50, 100 different jobs.
Yeah.
And that's not a great strategy on finding a job, because you want to do you want to get it customized as possible.
Very
Right.
true. Yeah. Jojo.
And I also think that when you are doing your resume, I mean, it's just like when, as an employer, we're looking at the resume or looking at you as a candidate. It's not just, it's your experience. It's, it is your resume, because the resume can speak a great deal to your writing skill set. And in many positions, you need to be able to write a complete sentence without grammatical and typographical errors in order to gain certain jobs. So it is deeper than that. But whenever I applied for positions, I always call to follow up. You may or may not get someone. I try to connect with someone on LinkedIn. So it is a multifaceted process, but I think resume and or cover letter or CV or whatever they're looking for, when you call and follow up, if you're a 20% match, it's very unlikely through that ATS, it's very unlikely you're going to move further, and unless you really know someone who knows someone and they really connect with you in a deeper way. So I think, it's just a multi-part process, and I agree, networking is a huge piece of it too.
It is. Thank you so much, Lee. And Jojo, thank you. Did you have some more to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, depending on how organizations are recruiting, like where they go, LinkedIn, Career Builder, a lot of, I would say most of the, well, I don't know if that's true, but most of the people I work with and have worked with my colleagues, like LinkedIn is it. Either LinkedIn, Career Builder, or job boards. And you want to take your resume and not necessarily, again, send like, hey, I want to email Jojo my resume. As Trevor said, it's a black hole. I'll never look at it. But you submit them to these job boards and multiple job boards that are helpful. So so you want to make sure your resume, you're sending your resume to the right resource, right? To the right place. And sometimes you can upload your resume. Other times, like LinkedIn, you kind of type in everything about yourself, and that serves as your resume online.
And also, I was going to add to that. So understand that if you get the canned email, right, that says thanks, but no thanks, we decided to move in a different direction. You apply online and 2 minutes later, you get the ding in your inbox that says, sorry, thanks, but no thanks, right? Understand that that was a computer that looked at you. That was not a human. Okay. And this is still a human business. And I've helped job seekers get that overwritten so many times because we got people involved. Okay. So on one side, they're getting told no. The next thing you know, I get people involved and they're getting a job from the same company that just told them no. Right. Because the computer does not get to make the final call on you. Right. This is still a people business. So understand that, get people involved.
And Trevor, and you guys have made a really good point, because I think one thing that's really relevant, particularly about our audience and specific to older adults, is the language, is the fact that, sometimes at the front of the hiring or interviewing process, there are algorithms, there are ATSs. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with an ATS is an applicant tracking system. So for our older adults who are going online and who are actually, kind of not walking into businesses anymore, but you are asked to submit a resume or you're asked to submit an online application, an ATS is a system that tracks candidates through the process, from the time that you've applied to the time that you've maybe filled out some assessment questions and so forth. And so I kind of wanted to turn around. We've got a minute more here. This is awesome. And again, guys, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and Sally and I will go ahead and answer. We got a few there already. But one thing I wanted to kind of bring back around, and Jojo and Trevor, you guys, Natalie can kind of jump on this, is in these ATSs and when these, algorithms are looking for words that, encouraging our older adults to make sure that they're matching up the right type of skill sets with the type of terminology that is now used, right? So no one's using a PBX board anymore. To that, you know what I'm saying? No one's using that. They're multi-phone systems, right? So type of language, how do you guys feel about, ensuring that they adjust skill set? And we want to be honest, right? But adjust their skill set to the language that is currently used. How important that is in getting them maybe to the next step, right?
Yes, I think it's very important. And I would encourage you guys to cheat at it. Let me tell you what I mean by that.
I love it.
Go to the job description, right? So you're reading something about some job somewhere, read what's in there. And I would mirror the language that they use, right? So if they're talking about, I don't know, I always use like, hey, SAP system, or must be proficient in Outlook. And if I know Outlook, you will see the word Outlook on my resume.
Good.
That's why I say, hey, I say cheat by looking at the job description and what they have in there, incorporate it into your document.
Excellent.
You can use tool. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, some people are not too far removed, not that far behind on their skill sets. They just don't know how to word it. And because they don't know how to word it, sometimes they may have to, like if it's Microsoft 365, make sure you let them know. They may use Microsoft Office before and familiar with that version, but Microsoft 365 has not changed too much as compared to the other Office. So be very specific and use, instead of Office, use 365. You'll be able to articulate that in the interview because you use it day in and day out. and try to reread it again. Have somebody else that maybe, just maybe of a millennial, we got some that's younger that can read again and help you out. So, and if you have a LinkedIn account, chances are, and some of the people may not have a LinkedIn account, but if they do have LinkedIn accounts, sometimes you can look at some of our colleagues and look at their pages and some of the things that they're still in the workforce and see what they're doing, especially some of the ones that we worked with. And you'll see how they probably looked at their page and see how they reworded some of their skills or added their skills, because you probably did the same thing. So sometimes you can look at some of your own colleagues that are still in the workforce and how they're wording some of their work experience and kind of change it up accordingly as well. Sometimes our network can help us out with updating our resume and updating our experience and being able to speak about it in the interview as well.
Yeah, I was just going to add to this and say that there are also tools, you know, when you're trying to match up the job description. So like Job Scan is one of those. You can, you know, plug it in there and it'll just kind of scan that job description and give you an idea. Once you run your resume against it, it'll tell you, you know, what keywords you might want to switch in or out. So that's a tool that can help. But also understand that a lot of this issue, you know, why do these companies use these ATS systems in the first place? It's because they're getting inundated by resumes, right? That's why they created this, is they're getting way too many resumes. So let's, you know, have a system to organize all this data. Smaller companies, especially for ageism. If you feel like you're dealing with ageism, small companies, don't go to the big Toyotas. I'm sorry if there's anybody here from Toyota, but like, don't go to these big companies. I'm not saying you can't get in, like it's impossible to get into the big companies. It's not impossible. It's just super, super, super challenging because, listen, they've got, I did an interview with Visa, 200,000 applications a month, 200,000. Yeah, they're going to be selective. They're going to be picky. They're going to be all of those things we were talking about, flight risk and payism and all that. They're going to be looking at all that stuff, right? A smaller company will think about it and go, oh, you know what? We can kind of override some of this stuff, you know, because we need the help. We need the support. We need your experience, right? Smaller companies, I think that's the way to go if you feel like you're dealing with ageism.
Yeah. Trevor, team, we've got the chat is jumping. I know Sally's got a question from the chat. We just had another one in here. So we're going to kind of turn the curve really quickly. One question that we got from Melinda Miller, and this is kind of just segueing back. What if there's an application to complete in submitting your resume and the application asks for your graduation dates, the dates of employment with past employers, or other dates that reveal age? How do you handle this? And I'm going to go ahead and just direct this to one of our panelists. Jojo, what are your thoughts on that really quickly? If they're asking for graduation date, dates of employment of past employers, anything that might reveal age, could you just quickly kind of answer to that for us?
And so I'm coming from the employer that's looking for that data because I want it. Right. And so I say, answer it. As long as they're not asking you anything illegal, give them the data that they're looking for. Because as an employer, I'm looking for that. Right. And I think one of the great things about this conversation that we're talking about is we'll hopefully give you strategies where if you're feeling insecure about that, give you strategies how to handle those dates. Right. And some of the most wonderful things about being someone who has more years of experience, there's a lot of fantastic things that I say we because I'm 50 as well, that we bring to a workforce that folks who haven't been in the workforce as long don't have and don't bring. And as an employer, I will tell you, when we get more mature hires into our workforce, we love it because more mature workers are so much easier. These might be generalizations, but are so much easier to handle. so much easier to manage, so much easier to work with, as opposed to, let's say, folks who are newer to the organization, don't necessarily know how to communicate as great, a little bit more, I would say very much more needy than older older workers, don't know how to navigate an organization. And so, like, I'd want to encourage all of us as we go and we get into these opportunities, understand what you're bringing to the table, because you are bringing some awesome, unique things, and you want to be able to call those out and pull those out and bring them to that employer's attention, because they may not be thinking about that, right? So it's not only the skills and the experience, but it's also some of the intangibles that, you know, that Father Time has blessed us with, and then we can really leverage those during our employment.
Excellent points, Jojo. Thank you. Natalie, what are some examples or tips when someone gets to the interview and it's obvious there is some ageism bias? What are some tips that our job seekers can additionally do that you could share with the group?
Well, one of the things that you can keep in mind that you've been keeping up your skills. So, you know, if you've taken courses, inform them that you know, been taking courses to enhance your skills or create new skills. Or if they ask if this position is more challenging, you can say, you know, that you look forward to taking on many challenges, and that you get a satisfaction doing something very well. And that you're at a point where your career in mentoring and learning from others. So on both sides, that you're available, well, you know, being that I am of a mature age, I'm able to learn from others, and I can mentor. So those type of things, you want to let them know what you're kind of doing, and try to deter them and not think that you cannot be taught anything. So by informing them that you have the capability of learning from others and being able to mentor others, I think it's a huge factor. And that you like working with a diverse group because of that. You know, everybody has come to the table with different skill sets, not so much as my age, but my capability of learning from others, as well as me teaching them as well what I've learned in the past from that particular skill or experience that they're looking for.
Great, Natalie. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other tips on while you're in the interview and all of a sudden a question comes up? We've had great examples of like saying, well, you're looking for X. Well, I've done X, and here's where I've been successful. Pointing out numbers, rates, those type of things to give your comment more validity to the interviewer.
Absolutely.
Their suggestion is, I think it's helpful and encouraging to talk about your long-term goals during the interview, right? So when I talk about, here's what I'm looking to do over X many years, that's telling the interviewer, I'm in this for the long haul, right? I'm not someone who's going to come and work a year and then go and do something else. You're kind of thoughtful and you say, hey, I've got, you know, you're indicating I've got quite a bit more runway left. And so I would always, if they say, is there anything else you want to tell me? Yes, let me tell you what I'm hoping to do, hoping to be in 5 years, where I'd like this role to go to. Then I think they may believe in your investment in that company even more.
I love that. Forward thinking, right? So that they are also in the mindset that you are there for the long haul. That I think is very key. Jojo, thank you. John, I think we had a question in the chat. Did we have another question in the chat, John?
Yeah, so one of the questions that came up, it stated, many applications require that a candidate provide their minimum salary requirement. And for the experienced candidate who had maybe earned, 6 figures, should they still put that as their desired salary, or should they go lower to avoid being dismissed?
That's a great salary question. Lee, Trevor, what do you guys think about?
I think that you have to research the market. I mean, you want to get back to work, but you don't want to do it, because the work is going to be the work. If this is $100,000 job, they're going to expect $100,000 performance from you. So you don't want to put $40,000 just to try to get in the door and think you'll ever be able to make up for that deficit in pay. I think you have to look at the market. You have to, in a lot of positions now with the salary, access to salary scales out there or salary surveys, you can get a good idea of what the market should bear for that particular position that you're applying for. And if you've, 60 to maybe 80, some people can manage that, or 100 and you got to come to 80 or whatever, you may be able to do 10, 15, 20,000, but to sell yourself short at 50,000, you also want to sell the value. You are bringing something to the table. You do have the experience. You do have the strengths that they're looking for to meet that job. So I think that you just really have to do your research and present a salary that's going to really work within the job as well as for you personally with your obligations.
Awesome. Trevor?
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly that. Research, there's like places like Glassdoor, you can get, some information on, what salaries companies are paying and things like that for the types of roles. And it may be a little bit tough because if you were at a company, I see this a lot. Somebody was at a company for 25 years and your salary has just gone up and up and up and up over time. And it may not be, the market may not be paying what you were getting paid. And that may have been one of the reasons why they let you go in the first place. It was a financial decision by a company. A lot of these companies are making financial decisions, right? They're stock-owned companies. They're looking at their P&L statement and they're like, well, we got to cut the top, and it's unfortunate, but it's the reality of things. And so when you look at the market, you may be shocked at going, oh my gosh, I was making 100 and this type of role is only paying 60 now, right? Well, one of the things I would also say is that if you're having a hard time getting hired, it may be an opportunity. It might be time for you to hire yourself, right? I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. It may be time for you to go in business for yourself. I've had a lot of my clients that have used, some of their retirement funds and things like that to start businesses, open restaurants, live out their dreams, like things that they've always wanted to do, things that have been inside of them, but they just haven't had the opportunity. So reflect and think, is this your opportunity? Is this your time? Maybe it could be. So there you go. That's my 2 cents.
And one more thing, and Trevor, you had a great point. On the other side of that, many times people stay in positions for 20 years, 15 years, and they are underpaid because you typically don't receive raises at the same level if you leave a job and go someplace else and make sure that you get that raise at another employer. So it's very important to survey the market so that you're able to know really what that position is going to bear. And I'm team entrepreneurship 1,000% too, Trevor. So thank you for that.
Good deal. Awesome. We got a little bit of more time. And so we're loving all of these questions. I think one in particular is going to be very good. We'd love to hear our panelists' feedback on this one. One of the questions was, how do older adults address gaps in their employment when they've retired too soon or they want to get back in the workforce? We, interact with a lot of adults who retired really early or unexpectedly, but they want to get So how do they address very quickly those gaps in their employment? And Natalie, we'll start with you.
Well, I can only go, well, based off my husband retired. And when my husband retired, and he decided that work was at home, he couldn't stay at home anymore. And he went back to work over a certain period of time. When he went to the interview, I just told him, just explain that at that point, even though it was a change in career, using his transferable skills, explain to the fact that you had met because it showed he had 20 plus years in that field. And now he's using his transferable skills to move on. Just explain the fact that, that was a cap at where you were, and you took some time off to regroup, to re-identify, what you wanted to do. People do it all the time. You rebranded yourself. And so at that time, we sometimes have to reflect and reinvent ourselves. So he did a form of rebranding, and so that towards them and explained what he could possibly do from this point, and exactly showed them the direction he saw and helping them meet their goals. And in the role he held, he can help them reach those goals by doing X, Y, Z based on his past experience, but now he's involved into where he is now. So he pretty much, I say, reevaluate yourself, think about what the reason why, if you're going back to work, you can explain that it's you evolved, you took time off to reevaluate yourself, and now you see yourself at this point. And explain that this point is going to take you longer than, and you're not looking forward to retiring anytime soon, but you just evolved. You met the cap at the other place. So now you are creating a new journey. So you can explain that in the email, definitely, email, in the interview, definitely. And they should be able to understand if you explain it in detail. As a matter of fact, Trevor, I'm gonna tell you, my husband ended up became his own business. He ended up doing his own business in the long run, but that gave him the idea, to help. And he still partners and consults as well. So he still ended up getting the job, but by rebranding and giving the information was the way to help him. Explain it in the interview.
Good points. Thank you so much, Natalie. Christina, how much time do we have left?
I think we're going to add about a few more minutes here. You guys are doing excellent. These are great questions. I don't believe that we had any additional questions. If there are some now, you guys are welcome to unmute yourselves and ask those. But I think this has been very important, right? Some of the things that we've heard so far from our panelists and also from our participants in the session. So if there,
can I add one thing to
yes.
The conversation? I know we've been talking a lot about, the employers and making sure that we're not walking into a situation where there's age bias or any of those types of things. But we would be remiss not to add that the candidate has a responsibility too. If you have to, as much as you update your resume, you have to update yourself. If you walk into the interview with the Mrs. Brady hairstyle, that is going to date you. If you walk into that interview, with clothes from 20 years ago when you were at a job, you have to be willing to update yourself as well. And to me, that just shows that you're adaptable to the current situation and the market and what's going on. So, when I go to interviews, people can't believe how old I am. I'm not doing anything more than what I enjoy, but, you do have to be willing to, to take the responsibility yourself to make sure that you're presenting yourself in the best light for 2021. And, that's kind of all I wanted to say about that, because someone asked me that a little while ago or earlier, and it's like, well, what do you do? Because you go and they can tell you're older when they knew I was doing this presentation today. And I said, well, it's up to you to make sure that you update everything about you, not just, your resume, but things that they wouldn't even think about. And it just takes a little bit of research and a little bit of time and investment.
And to piggyback off of Lee, updating yourself and keeping yourself current, you also want to be current in your whatever discipline you're in, right? So I'm an HR professional, So I need to know and stay current in what's happening in the employment arena, right? Because there's a lot of changes. And I think today more than ever, things change at the speed of light. And so whether that's the technology in the HR space, whether that's employment law in the HR space, whatever that is, I want to, as Lee said, hey, I want to make sure I look like I'm current, and I want to make sure I'm investing in myself and my knowledge that I stay current in my discipline as well. And the systems, right? Because I don't think there's any job that doesn't have a technology aspect to it nowadays. They all do. And so if you're afraid or if you don't know, go take a class. I taught myself on YouTube several things. And I love YouTube because I can hit rewind until I get it. So there's tons of tools out there to keep yourself and your skills, and I just say your trade, staying up to speed on your trade.
Can I add one more thing? This is Natalie.
Yes.
Since we're talking about rebranding, sometimes people think it's a complete overhaul, but it is, it's just a shift in emphasis that, prompt others to prompt others to say that they can see you doing that. That's all rebranding is. It's just a transition of the current skills you already possess, but, you're just enhancing. And think about everything that I say, ask your friends and family. They will tell you about your unique selling points of what you do best from, and your colleagues. Sometimes they're the ones that'll give you that, shift in emphasis to help you move over to that new shift. And once you do that rebrand, of course, you have to represent it, dress the part, update all your social media platforms to reflect your new you. So, and in order to be your best professional self, you're going to have to identify. And sometimes others see us in ways we don't see ourselves. Thus, it helps us build up the confidence to push forward and kind of minimize some of the anxiety that comes with the ageism that we, face. But if you be able to have that as your leverage, it'll help you be able to articulate it in interviews, be able to articulate that on your resumes, because again, you're going to constantly have that push to keep you accountable, like she said, discipline. And you definitely need the accountability and the feedback from all your network, because then you got to reintroduce yourself to your network. And they're going to be the ones that's going to promote you with your new rebranding. So keep that in mind. So when you rebrand, make sure you connect with them, reintroduce yourself with the new you. But remember, it's a transition, not a complete overhaul. And it's not something that takes overnight. It takes time to do, but you have to be truthful with yourself in the process. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I would like to add to that, if that's okay.
Yes. Round us out, Trevor. Round us out, and then we'll do our round robin.
All right, sounds good. So when you're rebranding, just remember not to catfish the employer, okay? I've seen that so many times where, like the men are shaving and like taking off their glasses, so they're trying to, make themselves look younger. Make sure whatever they see online is what they see when they walk on a Zoom interview or what they see in person. Right? When you walk into that real interview or an online interview, whatever you're doing, make sure it's the same person. Don't catfish them. That's not good. The other thing is you need to find a way to get their attention, to get noticed, because the name of the game here is to have these conversations on a regular basis. Okay? Because you can't overcome these objections if you're not able to get those conversations, if you're not able to have these informational interviews or to get a real interview, right? If you can't get those done, all right, which that's the biggest problem that I see happening is when you're battling ageism, you can't even get to the interview stage. It's tough. You're getting maybe one interview a month, right? And it's like, that's the biggest challenge is getting to that interview. So we need to be able to have those conversations at scale, like over and over and over and over. And there's ways to do that. So I'm gonna show you a real quick tip, and it includes video. You're gonna have to get out of your comfort zone and use video to do this. And I'm gonna grab someone's attention right now. They're gonna give me a big old smile when I do this. I'm gonna grab their attention because of the word that I'm about to use. Do I see a smile? Oh, there it is. There it is. I see a big old smile. Jojo, hello. See, I got her attention by using a word, her name, right? And I actually teach job seekers a strategy, uses video. It uses a little whiteboard like this, and it gets their attention online and it gets conversations started, right? And that's what you need to do, is get conversations started at scale so you can start overcoming some of these objections. And what this is also going to do is it's going to show them that you know how to use technology. And you're going to overcome a lot of that objection right up front, because you're going to show it to them that, hey, I got this. I am up to date. I am current with technology and I can do this. And it's going to show confidence. So connect with me. I'd love to show you some of this stuff, guys. If you're dealing with it, I would love to show you some outside the box approach. This doesn't have to be done the way it was done 20 years ago. Those approaches don't work anymore. So there you go.
Great. Thanks so much, Trevor. And as we're closing out, if each panelist could also share how they can be contacted or where to get additional information, because we're just scratching the surface today in this webinar. There's just so much information out there, and you'll see it on LinkedIn. There's stories after story after story. But panelists, we see Lee, where can people contact you and get additional information?
I will post my email address in the chat, but I am with CK Family Services as the Director of Human Resources. We are actively looking for a number of positions, and you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm Lee Coleman on LinkedIn.
Great, thanks. And great to know that your organization has openings. Natalie. Oh, we can't hear you.
I'm putting my email in the I'm with Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas. So, and I facilitate workshops, and they can gather the calendar on the Work in Texas website events calendar. So I facilitate the saying and writing resume workshops, interviewing, get ready, get hired. I have a time to reinvent yourself, which is rebranding strategy, and also working remotely.
Oh, great.
All these 4 workshops I facilitate 3 times a week, actually. So
wow.
I just say, look on your workintexas.com events calendar, and it's scheduled there for the Workforce Solutions of Greater Dallas. And I actually have attendees that come all the way from Houston that attend.
Wow.
They find it on the website, and it's all virtual. So welcome all, come one, come all.
That's great. And that's so wonderful that those resources are there remotely. And Jojo, how can people reach you?
This is so awesome. And I am going to take full advantage of this plug.
Go for it.
I put my email in the chat, but I can be reached at jharris@jacobsononline.com. I know it's a long email, bear with me, but we are always looking for great talent and diverse talent. And what we are embarking on, this may interest you guys, is we are looking for recruiters. And the qualification to be a recruiter is maybe some work experience, but we want you to be professional. We want you to have call courage. We want you to be able to engage with others using our technology, but we're not requiring recruiting experience. And so if and when we find the right talent, we are very happy to train. And I would love to hear from everybody.
Oh, that's great. Good.
Awesome.
Did I miss anyone?
Trevor, did you go?
Trevor.
No, I didn't go. But hey, Jojo,
sorry,
I got somebody for you right now. I'm thinking perfect recruiter. I'm gonna send them your way. See, because it's all about who you know, guys. It's all about who you know. So I'm gonna put in the chat real quick. Why is it not going? There it goes. Okay. So my email address, trevor@whoyouknow.show, my LinkedIn address there, so you can connect with my LinkedIn profile. Actually, when you connect with my LinkedIn profile, watch the cover story video so that you can get my LinkedIn optimization checklist for free. Just watch the video and I'll get you that checklist. And then there is our whoyouknow.show is our website. We've got all kinds of different training programs going on at any given time. Come through our summit. That's what I would tell you is where it all starts, where it all begins, the summit. I'm going to teach you some strategies to help you get noticed, help you get back to your cash flow, because that's what this is all about.
Great. Thank you so much, Trevor.
You're welcome.
And Christina, do you want to,
Yes.
any parting comments?
Awesome. Yes. Thank you, each of you, Trevor, Lee, Natalie, JoJo, for joining us today. Sally, thank you for being an extraordinary co-host. John, thanks for being in the chat. Thank you, each and every person that has joined us. As you can see in the chat, these are the email addresses and the ways that you can get in touch with our extraordinary panelists. Panelists, again, thank you so much for taking your time to talk to our Senior Source clients and friends. The webinar will be recorded and will also be posted on the website in a few days. If you have any questions or need one-on-one career coaching or need to be connected with your resources on how to develop your resume, how to interview one-on-one, the Elder Financial Safety Center with the Senior Source offers that through our employment team. So you're welcome to reach out to myself, Christina Taylor, ctaylor@theseniorsource.org, or Mr. John Murphy, who's also a career coach at jmurphy, MURPHY, @theseniorsource.org for more resources or help with that. Again, we thank each of you. I honestly, Sally, I feel like this could probably be a part 2.
Yeah, we could definitely,
Guys,
this is scratching the surface, y'all, so.
We are truly just scratching the surface. But again, we thank you. We hope that this was informative, and we hope that we have given you the tools and, more importantly, the encouragement to combat and overcome ageism in your search. It starts here, people. So once it moves from here, right, it becomes the action. So you are equipped to do this work. You have the experience, as we've heard from Miss Natalie. You have the resources to hone in on your discipline, as we heard from JoJo. Ms. Coleman has told us that you can position yourself and be able to be, this person that you need to be to fit into this space. So again, we're thankful. We're glad that you joined, and I hope that each of you has a beautiful day. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.